All right, well, good morning. The North Carolina Senate has just passed a budget that redistributes wealth in our state by literally taking sales tax money generated here in Mecklenburg County and sending it to other counties all across the state of North Carolina. Make no mistake about it, this plan will rob Mecklenburg residents of millions of dollars. And as the chairman of the Mecklenburg Board of County Commissioners, I felt it was important to speak out against this terrible turn of events. By our estimates, we could lose as much as $62 million by the end of year 5 if this plan were to proceed. These are dollars that we need to support our growing educational system in Mecklenburg County, dollars that we need to support our parks and our libraries, dollars we need to support our criminal justice system, dollars that we need and we have invested in this community to keep economic vitality going, the economic vitality that we enjoy today. Already, Mecklenburg County is a donor county. Although we represent 10% of the state's population, we contribute 20% of the state's revenue. So without question, this Senate plan is bad for Mecklenburg County, but I'm gratified that senators like Senator Jeff Jackson and Senator Joel Ford, Senator Joyce Waddell, all of them voted against this plan. And indeed, even Senator Bob Rucho, and you may know that Senator Rucho and I may not agree on many things, but I'm pleased to know that he is working for Mecklenburg County and he voted against this plan. I am disappointed, however, that one of our Mecklenburg senators, Senator Tart, voted for this plan. Only last week, Senator Tart declared that no one in the Mecklenburg delegation that he knew of would support it. So I can't understand why Senator Tart would do this to his own constituents. Maybe he will redeem himself in the end. I hope that when faced with the choice between voting for the interests of his constituents versus the interests of the political bosses in Raleigh, that he'll make the right decision. Well, now this issue will move to the House, and I'm cautiously optimistic about what will happen there. Representative Bill Brawley from Mecklenburg County, who is the senior chairman of the Finance Committee in the House, I believe he has been listening to our concerns. I know that Chairman Brawley understands that a strong Mecklenburg is essential to a strong North Carolina. And we need a strong, unified North Carolina at this important time. Just yesterday, I was with fellow commissioners, county commissioners from across the state of North Carolina. We were at a meeting of the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners. And I heard again at that meeting about the heartbreaking challenges facing some of our brothers and sisters in our rural counties. And so I understand that we have great need there. And there's no doubt that we need a plan, an economic plan, that answers the questions for them. But we need a plan that also keeps our commercial centers in North Carolina vibrant, commercial centers like right here in Mecklenburg County. Now, we've got a lot of smart people in this state, and I'm confident that if we work together, county commissioners, state legislators, urban and rural, that we can find a win-win solution, and we must. So I encourage the members of the General Assembly, both in the House and in the Senate. I encourage the entire General Assembly to work with us as county commissioners, to work across the state together to move forward. We must have one North Carolina. And to do that, we can't pit one county against the other. We can't rob Peter to pay Paul. We've got to work together. And if we do that, I believe we will have a strong Mecklenburg County. So let's work against this plan, because it is a plan that's bad for Mecklenburg County, and I dare say it's bad for the entirety of North Carolina. Thank you. Glad to take questions.
Chairman Fuller, now that we know that the plan is going to reconciliation essentially between the House and Senate, is there anything Mecklenburg County, anything the commission, anything you can do or anything you're trying to do to kind of influence the outcome? Because we're still at that place where things maybe could change. It's not final just yet. Is there any kind of lobbying efforts going? Is there anyone in Raleigh hitting the pavement? Anyone working the phone?
The short answer is yes. We are working hard by continuing the lines of communication open between us here locally and the folks in Raleigh who are working in the General Assembly. As I mentioned, Chairman Bill Brawley, who is a Mecklenburg representative, I understand, feels very strongly about this. We are gratified by that. We think that's important. We're still trying to talk to our colleagues in the Senate. We think that if they consider this plan fully and think about the state as a whole, that they will see that hurting urban centers does not help the rest of the state. Let me put it to you simply. An additional $500,000, for example, going to Anson County, as an example, is not going to build another school. It's not going to build a library. It's not going to build a road. All it's doing is taking money from your economic centers that are driving economic growth in North Carolina and weakening them. You're not strengthening anybody. So, to your question, we are continuing the lines of communication. We think that if we continue to talk about this, if we continue to think about it together, that we're going to come up with a solution that works for everybody.
How do you feel? You said that for your example, the $500,000 wouldn't necessarily help build a new school, but in theory, you're helping other areas around the large metropolitan areas that feed where people live. People, have spouses. So, how do you not want to help the other areas, and then how do you do that if this doesn't work?
As I mentioned, we understand the challenges faced by our rural brothers and sisters, and we know that we've got to work to generate economic activity in those counties. But the question is, how do we do that? Do we do that by taking away from our urban centers that are already generating economic activity in the state? Or do we find a solution that works for everybody, that doesn't take away from the centers, but helps to grow? So, for example, I've talked about a regional approach. If we see areas of the state as regions, we can see where we might have manufacturing, for example, maybe a plant in a rural county. But most people will live in the urban county, and we'll have transportation infrastructure that gets people from these plants to the urban centers. I think if we think along those lines, that's what's going to improve the lives of our rural brothers and sisters. It's not going to work. It never has been the case that by taking from one that you build up someone else. I've always been told, my mama and grandmama always told me, that you don't build yourself up by tearing somebody else down. So we've got to build up all of North Carolina, and I believe that we can't do it by redistributing sales tax revenue in this way. There is a solution, and we just got to find it.
And that's what I was going to ask. Have you guys looked at it, and do you have any viable solutions to offer on behalf of you guys, saying, hey, look, let's try this?
Well, what I have proposed is that we form a study committee where we would put all the stakeholders in the room, both urban and rural legislators, county commissioners, other stakeholders. Let's put our heads together. Let's find out what's the best way for us to move the state forward. Unfortunately, that kind of conversation has not taken place. Instead, what we've had, frankly, is political maneuvering that folks who have power, legislative power, have decided that they want to injure our urban areas. That's not the answer. Let's put our head together. We have too many smart people in this state not to find a solution that works for everybody. That's what I think we should do. Any other questions? All right. Thank you all very much.